guys, and welcome to the Good Old Days podcast. This is Sheri Byers, and today we're going to be getting to know Sheri Byers. She is my amazing, beautiful, sweet, kind, loving mother-in-law. And we're just going to get to know a little bit about her life, growing up, and just some advice from her. We're going to ask some questions. Are you ready?
Okay, I'm as ready as I'll be.
Yeah.
It's good.
And we interviewed Matt last week, and he said a lot about you. And he said some stories that I'm going to ask you about and see how you recall them.
Good.
Except one of them we didn't get recorded, so you can tell the story.
Tell my
it.
version.
Yeah.
Okay.
He said that it wouldn't be as we say, dramatic.
It's true.
He would
it's
say
true.
it.
He's very colorful. He's the color member of the team, and I'm the play-by-play member of the team.
I'm just trying to get the story across.
Yes.
He likes to add a little spice to it.
Yes.
Well, what I want to do is I want to start doing this every interview is I'm going to ask you what your drink of choice is.
Oh.
Okay. Now, today, I made you a little chai.
You did, and
chai.
I do love a good chai latte. I mean, how can you go wrong with that?
It's really...
Yeah, I do. I like a little flavor. I like a warm drink, especially in the morning. It's always relaxing. And I tend to like it with a little flavor. Not too much sweet, but
Wait,
some
are you talking
flavor.
about coffee? Or
whether it's coffee,
Okay.
whether it's a tea, but I've switched over to coffee the last 20 years or so. It used to always be tea when I was raising kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I feel like you would need coffee for that.
No, I
And then you
know.
switched to tea.
Well, yeah, I just thought coffee wasn't, I don't know, I thought maybe it wasn't as good for me or whatever. And then
that makes sense.
A silly thing, I did the blood type diet survey thing, and it said you should not be drinking tea, you should be drinking coffee. So I said, okay, I'll drink coffee.
What? There's a blood type
diet. I know.
It tells you what's best for your blood type.
What's best for your blood type. There's a lot of legitimate things to be said about that. Yeah.
It makes sense.
Well, and I used to get headaches.
Also eating meat too.
Yeah.
Like what type of meat.
Yeah.
Or if you should eat meat.
Exactly.
Because some people eat a lot of red meat. I can't do that.
Yeah.
I immediately.
What's your blood type?
I don't even know.
Oh, you should find out.
I don't know my blood type.
They
I'm
used
too
to tell
scared
you.
to get my blood drawn. I'm way too scared to get my blood drawn.
Well,
There's
so
no
the
way.
next time you have to just ask them, because they won't just give it to you. You have to ask them,
I know you have
please.
to ask for an actual.
Say, I'm just curious. I want to know.
Yeah, I have no idea what I am, but I'm fine with not knowing for now.
Okay, good.
So your drink of choice is chai or coffee or
I would love
tea
yes.
or sparkling water. Oh,
Listen,
wait, no. Do you not like sparkling water?
I do.
Oh, you do?
I do like sparkling water.
Wait, who's...
I like
wait,
with
does
a little
Matt
fizz.
like
Yeah,
sparkling
he doesn't really like sparkling water.
So
He'll drink plain water. He drinks lots of plain water,
yeah. Yeah, sparkling
but
water.
Honestly, I have to say, really, my best, if I'm just consciously thinking of my drink, my best drink is something shared with a friend. It really does, because it enhances. I don't care what I'm drinking if I'm drinking it with a friend, because that's the fun part. But the drink is important.
Chai with friends.
Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm Middle Eastern. 100% as close as you can get in those rough dynamics. Middle Eastern, Armenian, basically. Little pieces of Italian and Greek and that kind of things, but mostly that area. And so we're very food oriented.
Yes. Every time we come over, you're always like, "What are you hungry?
Yes.
You want something to eat?"
No, I know.
Or there's always cheese spreads, or what's the cheese, the string cheese?
String cheese, Armenian string. Now, people think they've had string cheese, but you have to have Armenian string
it's so
cheese.
Good.
It's different, yeah.
It's I don't even know how to explain it. It's kind of rubbery. Isn't it kind of rubbery?
It's the texture is different. Well, I feel like
it tastes different too.
It just tastes,
good. Just good.
The string actually comes from them pulling it like taffy over and over, so it gets that stringy taste. So I like it. It's, once you've had that, you don't want to have regular store-bought, individually packaged things. So,
not the same.
Not
and
the
so,
same.
and you so that's kind of from your culture.
It is.
Everything's surrounded by a meal, which is so true whenever we come over. It's always we're coming over to eat, and we're going to sit outside and we're going to talk for
that's it.
Hours and eat.
Well, there is a power, I think, of food. Food does something to break down walls with people. It's something we share. Everybody loves, needs to eat. Let's say it needs to eat.
It's a necessity for all.
It is.
Yeah.
So sharing it with people, sharing that space with people, I think something kind of magical can often occurs in that
it's
process.
very like
yeah.
community oriented.
Yeah.
And you just went on a little trip with your girlfriends.
I
and you
did.
And Matt was telling me that you all had a meal planned, right? Like
yeah,
you
we
each
do.
cooked a meal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We
so
take.
That seems like that kind of fits into that too.
It does. Well, yeah, it's very communal idea of you're breaking bread together. So we just bring a bunch of stuff, and then like I bring an Armenian pizza, like
What's the Armenian? Is that cheese barrage?
It's called lamajun, and yeah, it's like in crude terms, like a tortilla with seasoned meat thinly spread across the top. Ooh. And then in true Armenian fashion, you put sliced cucumbers and lettuce and these green onions.
Just becomes a mound, like a mountain of
yeah,
things.
I mean, that's the fun way to eat it. But you can totally eat it plain. You can eat it hot. You can eat it cold, And so I've pretty much forced that on them, but they like it. So
yeah, Tim and I were talking about, because he was saying we just did our Christmas episode, and he was saying how we have December Day on Saturday.
Yes.
And we are also having Armenian breakfast, and how he doesn't love most of the foods. And I think that I love it. The only things I don't like are there was that one that was wrapped in grape leaves, yeah.
Yes.
That one was because it was really like vinegary.
Well, you can call it sarma or dolma, and they have it hot or cold. I never had the cold ones growing up. My family always had the more savory meal version, which has meat and rice in it. The cold ones are more olive. It's the way my family made olive oil and lemon juice, and it's just more like rice and onions and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think we had that when we went to the Armenian place.
Yes.
For New Year's, and I was
not your favorite,
but I loved everything else.
Well,
the meat
I'm bringing
was so
some
good.
out. I'm bringing some out. So
you're gonna make some?
No, I actually bought it because
okay.
It's only so much time in life. I don't know how those little Armenian ladies used to make. You live your life
all
in the
day,
kitchen.
All
it takes
day.
so long to make some of it.
We made cheese barrage.
Yes.
Is that what we made?
Yes.
Together? Yeah, that was fun.
You did so well.
And that was fun because you said that you said you had memories of your like mom like making it with her friends or something, or you? There's
a couple ways all of that happened, but I learned from both my grandmas. Actually, they both did it a little bit different, but mostly my dad's mom. We called her Candy Grandma because she and her husband moved to the United States from Armenia at different times when they were like young, not even teenagers, like 10 to 12 in that category. And then they met on the East Coast and then decided that the West Coast was the place to be. So they drove in a station wagon, piled all their stuff over here, and started a chocolate business.
Wait, so they moved when they were
newly married. They had 2 young kids.
Gotcha.
So 2 young kids. And
they started a chocolate business?
Yes, he was in a chocolate factory.
Wait, this
in the
is
East
Candy
Coast.
Grandma?
Candy, that's why she's called Candy. Yeah, they had chocolate from people. So their shop was in South Pasadena, and people from Beverly Hills would come and buy their chocolate. They loved their chocolate.
And did they not continue the business at all, or did they sell it?
Okay, it was so sad. They had it for I would say maybe 20 years, maybe more than that.
Yeah.
It's called Camel's Candy Kitchen, all with a K.
Okay.
And Camel, because our name Jamalian, our maiden name Jamalian, my maiden name Jamalian, means camel in Armenian. Is one of the names, one of the interpretations. So at Camel's Candy Kitchen, he had learned recipes, and he just had instinctually was a good baker of chocolatier. That's my word. And so he had all these fabulous recipes, and he was fastidious about how each chocolate piece came out. So like I said, they were so busy. It was quite a booming business, but he was nervous that somebody would steal his recipes if he wrote them down. So he kept them all in his head.
No way.
Well, once again, this nervousness led for him to be anxious when he went and got his driver's license renewed. And he had a heart attack and died in the lobby of the DMV.
What?
I know, isn't that terrible?
Oh my gosh.
But with
this
him,
is Candy Grandma's
husband. So she was 50 when he died.
How old was he?
He was probably a little older than that, but not old.
And he was so nervous.
He was
going
so nervous.
into the DMV.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So, back then it was you didn't have interfacing with big, government things
Yeah.
very often, and this was a big government thing.
Yeah.
And so he was afraid that he wouldn't pass. And so anyway, yeah, right?
Oh my gosh. So then there goes all the chocolate
Instantly,
recipes.
there went all the chocolate recipes.
Wow.
So some
Did
of
they
the,
ever try to redo it?
they
make
tried,
them?
they tried to, like, he had chocolate dippers and stuff, and they could do some of the things, and they had some candy made, and so they sold it until they couldn't sell anymore, and then they had to close the shop.
Whoa. And that is that near where you guys live?
It's
Or
South
no?
Pasadena, so in the heart of South Pasadena. It's a great little community.
Man.
Yeah, I know. It was super, super sad.
I know, that's
Yeah.
crazy. And now I know why she's called Candy Grandma. It all
That's
makes
it.
sense.
Yeah,
I mean, I
it.
thought she just gave everyone candy all the
No.
time, but it was chocolate.
Oh, it was good
And it was-
chocolate.
Dang.
It was good chocolate. We used to go, being little girls, and they would give us those little, those like parchment bags, and they're small,
yeah.
right? And so my grandma, she ran the front of store, and so we'd each, like, I remember being like probably 4, and my sister was like 2.5, and she gave us a bag. And she says, "You can take as many chocolates as you can put in the bag," and it was like, oh my gosh! So I'm
Stuffing
going
them
and I'm
in.
selecting mine carefully, and so we go to my little sister, and she had picked a couple, but then later on we found out that she stuffed a whole bunch in her diaper, and so we laughed about that.
That's
so
funny. Did it melt?
Oh,
They
yes.
probably thought it was poop.
Oh yes, I know. It
That
was
is
really
funny.
a fun story
Well,
that we.
that's how you do it, though.
Yeah. She wanted to
wanna
maximize.
get all that chocolate.
Yeah, she wanted to
Yeah,
maximize.
She was being a businesswoman. You gotta get as much chocolate as you can. That's so funny. Well, going to that, tell me a bit about your childhood, because I don't know anything about your childhood or where you grew up, all that. So first, when were you born and where were you born?
I was born in December 17th, 1959. So
Birthday's
I
coming
can
up?
say, yes, that I can say I was born in the 50s. That's really
Yeah.
cool, right?
And then what I did was with Matt was I was like, okay,
Uh-huh.
you were a teenager in the 70s then, right?
It's true.
So I always just think about the style and the fashion and
Such as it was. It was
Yeah.
kind of crazy.
yeah. Did you keep anything? I know people who have kept a lot of their old
Uh,
70s fashions.
I have
some
I have
family
my
friends.
baby clothes. I
Okay.
have more
No,
of that
not the
stuff.
same.
Yeah, not the same. Not the same. Yeah.
Yeah. So where'd
So-
you grow up?
Pasadena.
Oh, Pasadena.
Yeah, I mean, the first house was in Altadena, which is a little suburb community off of Pasadena. We lived in a great house nestled in the mountains. We could overlook the whole valley. It was really cool. My mom had 4 kids in 5 years. So boom, boom, boom,
Wait,
boom,
you
boom.
grew up in the house you live now, right?
No.
Or no. Oh,
no,
okay.
not that. So the house I live in now was my grandma's house, my mom's mom's house.
Okay.
And my
Which-
mom lived in that house when she
Yeah.
was little. Yeah.
Which is coming up on 100 years.
It's true.
Yeah.
You're right.
I saw that in Matt's calendar. He said 100-year-old Byers house. And I was like, wait, that's like crazy.
Yeah, it
that house
is.
is 100 years old.
So I remember being a little girl and going to visit my grandma, and she was always having meetings, Bible studies. The house was always busy with people. She was a great cook, especially pastry sort of chef. So she always had cookies and baklava and lots of goody things, and she would have it ready. And so I remember sitting on the steps of my house as a child, looking at everybody having a party, and having Bible study or whatever it was, but being a part of that. So that it's a fun memory now to be
Yeah,
in
and
that
you
actual house.
literally lived there.
Yeah,
And-
she died, and for 5 years later, after she died, we moved into the house. For 5 years after she died, we'd still get knocks on the door saying, "Is Eva here?"
Oh my
and we'd say, "Oh
gosh.
no, but here, you want to sit down and have some coffee?" And so,
Then you bring them in for a
yeah,
meal.
it's true, pretty much. Yeah.
And then your mom had 4 kids?
4 kids
In
in 5 years. She was an only child.
Oh my gosh.
So she
Back
wanted
to
some
back.
people around. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she had 4 of us really quick. And so I'm sure her life was rather hairy because that's
Well,
a
yeah.
lot,
Yeah, how quickly did you have your first 3?
My first 3? Okay, so I got pregnant 6 weeks into marriage. So that started things boom. And then my
Boom.
next one was 2.5 years later. And my next one was 4 years later.
Okay.
So I had more spacing.
More spread
I have
out for
6
sure.
kids within 17 years. So
yeah, that's more spread out for
yeah,
sure.
a lot more spread out. Yeah.
Gave you some time.
It did. Yeah.
And so when you were growing up, were you close to your siblings? Because you were so close in age.
We did a lot of family things together, extended family. Every celebration included grandparents, great grandparents, my dad's sister. So we were like a pod, and we did all the things together. So that was fun, and life was, I don't know, felt a little slower maybe. We had time to leisurely, like, for Christmas we made homemade eggnog, whipped the cream and folded it into the eggnog punch, and all these, we took extended times to enjoy each other.
It's so different now. It's so different now.
It feels more rushed, I would say. But there was a lot of family time get-togethers, picnics in the park, and different things like that were happening.
Did you go and because I always think about this. I feel like when I was younger, like we could go play outside in the park by ourselves, without anyone, not our parents. We just had to be home by the time the street lights went on. Yeah. We knew like dinner will be ready when we get home. Did you do that a lot?
We didn't live in a situation that was like that. I mean, so we were in that mountain house until I was 12. And so there was a little cul-de-sac and like a little gully sort of thing. So my sisters and brothers would play with the neighbor kids. I was a little older, just old enough to feel like I didn't fit into that. But I loved to read and I loved to listen to records. And so I did a bunch of that kind of stuff. Yeah. And I'd organize everything alphabetically. And then when I was tired of alphabetically, very type A. And then when I was tired of alphabetically, I did by author or composer or whatever. So I just switch it up, just to keep it interesting. So I like to do that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it's more in my head.
Did you share a room with your siblings?
I did.
How many rooms was your house?
So the first house we were born in, there were the 4 children, and there were 2 children in each room. So and then my parents in another room. So it was nice.
Yeah, not too crammed.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't huge, but I don't know. It always seemed to be nice.
As a kid.
Yeah, and my mom liked to make things, especially the holidays, really magical. Like she always had such a decked out tree. I wish you would have known her. I think you would have liked that flair that she had for a good party and a beautiful, beautiful tree. It could have been in a department store. It was just stunning. Everybody would always comment. And then we got our own private little Christmas trees in our bedrooms.
What? That's
I
nice.
know. It's
like
really
little tiny ones.
Yeah. No. Well, probably 2 feet high, 3 feet high. It was good little size,
So you had your own little Christmas tree. Did they put presents under those? Or
no, it was just for us to enjoy for the month of December. Wow. And so we got to go. It was like our night light. It was
with the lights around it. That's so cute.
Yeah, it was.
So you grew up. So then you went into the house you live in now, right?
Which was my mom's home. Yeah.
And you've lived in there ever since.
I know, pretty much. We did have a little. We had a.
Oh,
when we first got married, we were like 8 months in an apartment, and then we moved to the back house on the property, and we were in the back house for about 5 years.
Yeah.
And then we moved to the front house after my grandma died.
Yeah.
We told my parents, who the house would have gone to in her death, we said, don't sell it. We'll make great tenants.
Yeah, we'll take it.
So we became great tenants for a
go.
long time. But thank God, honestly. Yeah, it was really such a gift.
Yeah.
And having 6 kids,
extra space.
I was, yes, for sure, the space. But then, they really gave us a break on the rent. So it allowed me to have more time to be home with my kids. So that was really helpful. Otherwise, by the time you add up babysitting, you have to make an exorbitant amount of money to just take care of your kids,
Yeah.
So I always did little odd jobs. Like I would proofread papers. I would help give tests for high schools and different things on the side. Okay. But mostly I was home with the kids. So.
Well, that's literally a full-time job.
Oh, yeah.
With 6 kids.
Oh, yeah, it was.
Yes.
And it was a job I loved, honestly.
Yeah, of course.
I don't have any, of course, nothing's always perfect or easy, but I loved being home with my kids.
Yeah.
It was such a treat to be able to be with them.
To watch them grow up.
Yeah, I loved it.
Yeah.
We had so many fun times,
Yeah. So going back to growing up.
Yes.
Going through like elementary school, middle school, high school, did you do any sort of other things besides school, like music or sports?
Took piano lessons, took violin lessons. We did tennis lessons. My family wasn't overly athletic by nature. Like, we'd rather sit and have a cup of coffee than go out and work out with our friends.
That's what Tim tells me about that even now.
Yeah, it's true.
He's like, family vacations, we just all stay inside. I'm like, I want to go out somewhere.
Well, it's
we
good.
go to the pool.
It's good. The kids are marrying more active people.
Yeah,
so it's
I think
balancing.
every marriage is someone who's like, let's go somewhere, let's go on a hike, or like,
no, it's good.
On a walk,
but you have to admit, we did add pickleball this last year.
That's true.
That was pretty good.
We didn't play pickleball
you
in
weren't
Palm
there?
Springs.
Oh.
No, we had left.
Oh,
but we played pickleball in the backyard, and that was really fun.
Well, they played on the courts. They had a great time. So see, we did.
But it was like, why of all the places to play pickleball in Palm Springs
I know.
in August?
I know, but it was
probably
nighttime.
like 80 degrees still.
I know.
I heard everyone was like sweating from that.
Yes,
so I was
for
like,
sure.
But yeah, no, pickleball.
But there's always
fun.
the pool afterwards. So
that's true.
It's all
that's
good.
True. Right to the pool.
Yeah.
So you did music, and then that goes into kind of college, right? Did you study music in college?
I did. Actually, I started off as a music major, and then for my first couple of years, and then when I transferred from the junior college to college, I didn't want to just put all my eggs personally in the basket of music. I didn't want to put them all in English. I really had a hard time sorting out what major I wanted to be. So at the college, I went to Occidental, and at the time, you could, if you had the support of a couple of different teachers, you could pick your own major. It was basically a liberal arts degree, but it ended up being entitled literature. Give me a second. I'm totally blanking on my major. How can that be? I didn't have enough chai yet. Oh, I got it now. There we go.
What is it?
So when I went to college, you had the choice of being able to, with the permission of a couple of teachers, create your own major. So I went through the catalog, checked
Literally create your own major?
You could, I know. It's pretty
of that.
amazing. But it was rigorous. If I had to go do it again, I probably wouldn't. But I went through the catalog and checked all the classes I would like to take. And we ended up titling it Art, Literature, and Thought in Europe During the Latter Middle Ages and Renaissance. So there you go.
That's your full major
So I know. I came home and dad said.
Thought and what?
Art, Literature, and Thought in Europe during the latter Middle Ages and Renaissance. I know.
That's very specific.
It was very specific. It was basically liberal arts.
Yes.
But I loved it. And I didn't know I was going to end up homeschooling my kids, but it was an amazing major for that interdisciplinary sort of study, which is actually what I was craving.
Yeah.
And back then, like now that's very popular, but back then that wasn't being done so much.
Yeah.
And so I loved seeing how the music of the day influenced the art of the day, which influenced the thought of the day, and all that sort of thing.
That's true. That makes sense.
It was fascinating.
I mean, that's what shapes a lot of everything today: music,
absolutely,
art, literature,
our movies. It creates the culture that we end up believing.
I wish we had that now, where you could just pick all the classes and then they come up with a major.
I know. Okay, but the bad side of it is I had to do a 3-hour comprehensive exam, plus a 1-hour exam being grilled by the 3 professors who approved my major.
To make sure you were proficient
exactly.
or something?
So honestly, that was very grueling, I think.
Was that at the end?
At the end to graduate.
Okay. Oh my
and to graduate, I had to jump through all those hoops.
Well, at least they were on top of that.
Oh, no.
I feel like they'd be like, yeah, make up your own major.
Yes, I earned my stripes.
And they actually were like, let's actually make sure she knows what she's doing here.
I know.
That's so interesting.
Yeah.
So then you end up going to, what's it called? Occidental?
Occidental College,
I've never heard of that.
It's in Eagle Rock.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And but you said that you did do music?
Initially I started off as music major, and I decided I actually wanted to be more diverse than that. So then we came up with that major.
Yeah. Okay. That's cool.
I have a little side note story to tell you. I mean, does it mess you up to back up a little bit?
No, let's back up. I kind of wanted to back up a little bit.
Okay,
Go for
so
it.
when we were kids, some of the things we were involved in, I told you, the violin and piano and stuff. My mom, from the time I was 7, and my little sister would have been 2 to 3. So we're literally exactly 5 years apart from the top to the bottom. So 7, 8, 9, we'd start working on this little show. So we would match in matching dresses. I had 3 sisters and 1 brother. Well, it was 3 girls, 1 boy. And we'd have them all little matching outfits, and we would perform. We would perform for the churches for Christmas or for Mother's Day, or we were on the radio one time.
Oh
we
my
went to
gosh.
convalescent homes, and we had this whole little set of
show?
songs, little
Oh
show.
my gosh.
Yeah.
Was it Christmas or it was?
So we would adapt it to Christmas, or we would
They
have
were flexible.
Oh,
They
no.
were like,
for
Christmas,
sure.
you need Christmas.
Oh, for sure.
We're there.
No, it was really good. Yeah.
Oh my god.
So we, from early years, we were all up there performing. So
There you go.
Yeah.
Well, that's like, I mean, I feel like that's what your kids did too.
Yeah.
Like
In some
Aubrey,
ways.
Tim,
Yeah.
Kenzie. Yeah. When you're that close in age too, you're so close and you all have the same interest. You're like, let's do something. Let's make something out of it. They make a little show.
It's
Did you
true.
Did you charge people?
No, we were never. I think
could've
we
made
might have
some
been
money
given
off of it.
honorariums. I don't know. Yeah, but I think it was just more like I don't know, it was somehow the way we gave back, I guess.
Yeah,
It was
that's
that
so
kind of
fun.
idea.
Well, I feel like that's a lot of, I don't know why, but I feel like that's a lot of like celebrity stories where they're like or they're musical theater stars or whatever. They're like, yeah, I used to create little shows
Have
when I
little
was a
thing.
kid.
Yeah.
So I love that. Do you have any like distinct nostalgic good old day memories from when you were either in high school or middle school, kind of in that time?
I remember ice cream cones being so cheap. They were like 10 cents a scoop. I'm
What
so
about
sad
gas?
about that. I remember it distinctly being 19 cents a gallon.
What?
And I was going,
What
it's
time. Oh my gosh. How much would that cost, like, to fill up?
Well, same. It's like, let's say you have a 15-gallon tank.
I gotta do the math. Let
So,
me check.
well, round it up to 20 cents, times
20 cents
15
times
gallons.
15.
It's
$3.
You're doing okay.
$3 to fill your tank.
To fill your tank. So
What? That is
I
not how
remember
it is
thinking
now.
that somebody should make a cologne that smelled like gasoline, because when I was a girl, I thought it smelled so good.
Oh my gosh. You're like, that's funny because that is not what anyone would think would
I know.
smell
And so
good.
you don't even want to have caps so
You'd be
you
like,
don't
"Oh,
smell it. I know.
yeah."
I remember these little sinking of smelly things. There was these little like little plastic little heart things, and these little dolls that were like 2 inches high that smelled. I don't remember their name. Like a pocket something.
Like the Polly Pockets?
It's like Polly Pocket, but they were a little chubbier, and they smelled. They
And
smelled
they had
so.
scents like strawberry. or,
really strong.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like probably
yeah.
just pure chemicals.
Oh, pure chemicals, you bet.
You're-
Yeah.
And you thought it was so cool.
Oh,
or
I
like
know.
those markers too.
We didn't have the
smelled-
markers back then. No, nothing
Yeah.
that cool back then. But,
Nothing,
yeah.
nothing that cool.
No, I
Were
know.
there any cool toys that you had that you liked as a kid? Like one that was like the one you wanted for Christmas or for your birthday?
I remember getting a bike that was pretty cool because it was my own brand new shiny purple bike. Books were really the thing. My first book purchase was The Secret Garden. I bought that with my very own money. I still have it.
Oh my gosh.
So I was a big book girl. I
Okay.
like to read a lot.
Did you have
so
your own little library in your
I
room?
did, yeah.
Aw.
I still have some of those books. And
That's
so,
cool.
Yeah,
How'd you
so-
earn the money? Did you have
birthday
chores?
presents
Oh, okay.
and stuff like that, or like when we'd go visit my grandpa. He was my great grandpa actually, where in the same house I happen to live on now,
Oh my
down the
gosh.
street was a little pharmacy, and so he'd give us a quarter, which was like a big deal back then, and we'd
Well,
got
that's
to
a
go
gallon
down.
of gas.
Yes, there you go, a gallon of gas. It's like $5 bill to the kid now. Yeah, so we'd go down to the corner like we were little kids, my sister and I, and maybe the younger two too, and we'd go and we'd spend on whatever we wanted,
So would you keep it?
I would often
You
keep
start
it. Yeah,
saving?
that was
How
me.
much
I was
did
a
the
keeper.
book cost? The Secret Garden.
It was probably a few dollars. Like it was probably like $7 or $8. I remember going
That's
to
actually kind of a lot.
Vroman's bookstore. It was a hardbound. It had a
Oh, okay.
it's
It's like
slip cover
nice.
and all that
Okay.
kind of stuff. So the jacket,
Yeah.
rather, and so it was. I loved that book. So I
Yeah.
liked my books.
That's a good book. Have you
Yeah.
seen the musical?
I've seen a few of them, yeah.
Oh, yeah, you've seen them a couple times?
Yeah, my Tim's older brother, Jordan, was in it at Vanguard. So when they performed it, yeah.
Yeah, I've actually never seen The Secret Garden.
You've got some good songs. Lily's.
Yeah, Lily's Eyes.
Yeah.
And then The Girl I'm Meant to Be. I teach some of my students that song. It's a good little ballad.
Yeah, no, it's got some little gems in there.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel like you said that you like to read books a lot? Was that kind of your maybe hobby, or?
I would say escape.
Yeah.
It's probably my better choice of word.
Because I feel like that's kind of some way of escape, reading stories as a kid. And do you in a good way or like a bad way? Like as in escaping your world?
Now that I look back on my world, probably.
Yeah, but you didn't think that at the time.
I didn't think back on it. Yeah. And, really, any escapes or, ways you disconnect to survive, that's serving a purpose, right?
Yeah.
And so I was super dutiful, and I wanted to please my mom, and there was a lot of ways that was important for her to meet those standards. And so I think I did the things that I needed to do to survive, which is keep the noise in my head quiet, so I'd focus on books. I read a lot of books, and it was good. It helped me understand the world better, understand myself better, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Were you the oldest?
I was.
Yeah.
Still am.
Well, yeah, that's how it works. Do you feel like that was like a big duty for you to be the oldest child?
Well, I think it's not a surprise. Most oldest kids happen to be pretty responsible. Lots usually
organized.
Expected.
I know a few people who are the oldest of a good 4 or 5 siblings, and they definitely all have the same not personality, but like characteristics. Yeah, especially that almost parent to you, even if you're like the same age. Sometimes they have that parent duty, and I'm like, I can do it. Like, I'm an adult.
It's true. Like, don't.
But it's just an instinct. Like, that's how they grew up. They grew up.
It's not demanded, but expected. You needed help.
Yeah.
So, but I started babysitting my siblings as young as 7. So that would mean my youngest sister was 2. So that felt like a lot of responsibility to me. But you didn't have a choice, right? You didn't even think about questioning it.
Yeah.
So you do it, but it scared me to do it, And
so you were 7 and your youngest sibling was 2?
Yeah.
And you, your parents would leave or just?
Well, my dad worked a lot, so he wasn't really around for how a lot of that went. That's a fun memory I have to tell you about my dad. On Saturdays, he would take all the 4 kids and we would go produce shopping. There was a local produce place, and we would go wandering up and down these huge aisles. It was kind of an open air sort of market. And he'd teach us how to pick good cucumbers and how to pick green beans and all this sort of stuff.
Teaching you the ways to pick the right produce.
His dad liked to do that. The one that was stressy and died in the
DMV. Gosh,
he loved produce and he loved food. So he taught my dad how to do that.
How to pick the right avocados or tomatoes.
Absolutely. And thump the watermelon, all that stuff.
And that was valuable.
It was. And so the best part is that it would take a long time, I think, to walk up and down those aisles, but we loved being with my dad. And then we'd get bags and bags of stuff, and then before we went home, we got to stop by Will Wright's ice cream parlor. And that was the typical red and white striped little ice cream thing, and he used to be a soda jerk, so that was fun for him.
Soda jerk?
A soda jerk is what they called him. The guys who made the
soda jerk.
I know.
I was like, what?
They're the ones that made the sodas for you, added the soda water, put malt for your malted, or
oh my gosh,
the different
I didn't know that's
Sundays.
That what they were called.
Yeah,
soda
actually,
jerk.
every Sunday after church, he would make us sundaes. And do you want a banana today? Do you want whipped cream? Do you want cherries?
Was it like a stand or was it a shop?
He was a shop when he was growing up. Yeah, but so where we went when we were little was a little shop. It was really cute, and it's a little arcade. When I say arcade, I don't mean like a gaming arcade. It was just a little alley that was brick and looks very European. Anyhow, we'd go and he'd let us order whatever we wanted. And of course, it's an ice cream store, so how bad can that be?
Yeah.
But we loved it. It was fun, and he'd tell us stories about growing up and things like that.
You went and got the produce and the like healthy stuff, and then you would go get ice cream after.
There we go. And then we'd come home, and he'd put all the bags up there, and we'd all four of us would sit on the floor, and then he'd make my mom sit in the dining room chair, and he'd present all the produce as if it was like some
His
big
haul.
gift. Exactly. So he says,
like
and
produce
here
haul.
in this bag is a giant head of lettuce, and we'd all, yay!
Lettuce!
Yay! And we go through the bag contents like that. It's just,
that's so
but
cute.
it's a happy, joyful
Those
memory.
are sweet memories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
really sweet. Yeah,
It's like little ones that you think back on.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
lettuce.
I know. So I like vegetables to
Yeah.
this day. I do. I have an affinity for
You know,
them.
that was probably just a parenting trick right there. Make it fun.
You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Make it fun. They think it's cool, and they get to, what is it called? Have the fruit of their labor,
It's
literally.
true. It's literally nice.
That's
pun.
funny. There you go. Used it. Yeah, that's cool. And so, okay, going back to 7 years old, 2 years old.
Oh yeah.
So did you actually take care of your siblings? Like,
Yeah.
well, would your mom leave?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Don't report her. She's dead.
You can.
Yeah, I don't recommend it. I don't recommend that as being a wise decision.
Yeah,
but I was
no,
super
7 and 2.
responsible. Yeah, I have an
Yeah,
aunt.
I'm sure you thought that as a 7-year-old.
I did.
I'm responsible. I could take care of them.
I had an auntie, and it's like, honestly, there's so much value to being raised in community because I have an auntie now that she's older and I'm 60. She comes up, she's, I remember when you were a kid.
This
I
is
remember.
Aunt Flo?
No, this is another Aunt Rachel, and she said, I remember. She says, I was going to take your mother out to lunch, and I came to pick her up, and she said, Rose, where's the babysitter? And she says, oh, don't worry about it. Sheri's so responsible. She takes care of the kids. And I was like, that was the deal. And so it was very validating, actually. She says, you were only 7 years old. I couldn't believe it. I said, Rose, she shouldn't be watching the kids. She's, don't worry. She's very responsible. She handles it.
And for like a long time?
Well, for lunch.
Oh my
I don't know,
gosh.
whatever.
That's
and at night when my parents.
That would never happen now. Never.
No. It is different.
I don't know if the kids these days are responsible at that age. Like, I don't think that society's helping them get there at that age.
True. In some ways, there isn't as much built-in need to be responsible and resourceful on your own. You know, there's so much is taken care of. I don't have to learn the date because I can just pick up my phone and learn and see what date it was or that fact. I don't have to remember the recipe or print it down or whatever. My phone can tell me all this stuff. And so it's good news and bad news. There's a
it's
trade-off.
like helpful, but it's also not helping us. Like, it makes everything so much easier and doesn't help our brains work as much as they should, like memorization and stuff like that.
Listen, we don't understand that it's the hard stuff, which we don't ever want to do, but it's the hard stuff gone through well that makes us resilient, that helps us believe in ourselves, that helps us know, actually, we can do this. We've done this other hard thing. We can do this hard thing. We'll be okay.
Yeah, and that's why people think that they don't have to do, like, they don't, how do I word this? If they don't ever have to do hard things, like they can be successful without working hard. They can be, resilient by passing over a couple steps because their phone can do it for them. Like little things like that.
No, it's true.
Where you really do see that a lot, like in current, I've just talked recently a bunch about just jobs and how people don't want to work anymore. So it's interesting that those little things can like build up to not really help us in the future.
That is really insightful, actually, Leah. If you ask me, I used to tell my kids growing up, I said, there's always a price and there's always a prize. And you decide what price you want to pay for the prize you want to get. So, for instance, if the prize you want is to not do your homework tonight, The price you have to pay is that you may get a bad grade. And then that may cost you when it comes time for grades to be reported.
Yeah.
If the price you want to have, the prize you want is a good grade, then the price you have to pay is doing your homework tonight. So it's your choice.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's up to you.
You get
You're
the
one
result.
who's in control of that.
Yeah. But every shortcut isn't always, it may be an immediate shortcut, but in the long range, it might not be the shortcut that made you stronger. You know?
And everything's a shortcut nowadays.
It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
It is true.
I find it like that way for myself. It's like, I want a quick road there. I don't want to take the long road. Yeah.
It's like we're stuck in the middle. It's like I want to grow as a person and like exercise my mind, memorize things, stuff like that. But also, I don't have the time for that. I want immediate satisfaction.
Give me the Cliff Notes version.
Yeah.
Give me the
give me the shortened
answers.
Quick answers. Yeah. No, that makes sense.
But so many of those answers are only good if you've lived them a little bit. You know. So
you're right. You are very wise. See, you got good
you.
stuff.
Wow.
You got good little nuggets. That's why I was like, I gotta have her on. Okay, well, I want to talk a bit going into your college years.
Okay.
And meeting your husband.
Okay.
Of how many years?
We just celebrated 42.
Whoa.
Pretty cool,
That's
right?
crazy.
I know.
42 years.
We met.
And
Okay.
he told the story, by the way. So
Did he?
You're gonna
the match it up
listeners are
to
gonna
see?
compare and see how they line up.
Okay, so I love to sing, but I was a little nervous about singing there was a select choir at my junior college that I wanted to be a part of, but I understood that they were wanting good singers. I was a little nervous to audition because in junior high I had solo in church, big production, and my voice had cracked, and so that stuck with me.
All of us.
It does, and you know what? Let me just say, when that happens, don't dismiss it to a kid. Say, "Oh yeah, but that's okay." You know,
that's what I tell my students.
Yeah,
I'm like, your voice may crack. It happens. My voice cracks sometimes too.
It's good.
And I'm your teacher.
It devastated me. So
it's
like
obviously embarrassing.
Yeah,
as a
it
kid,
is.
you're like so embarrassed by it.
Yeah,
But
and who even paid attention, really?
Yeah.
But I did, and I let
You
it shape.
remember it. No one
I
else
do.
remembers.
I did. But anyhow, so I got the courage to audition for this group. So I made this select singing group at the junior college. And Matt, my husband, became my husband, was one of he was a tenor and I was an alto. And so that whole first year, like, he hardly remembers me, which is really weird because, and let me just say, he has this amazing mind that he can recite every person in his second grade class. Like he can see, he taught for 35 years. He can see a kid that he taught in year 2.
Yeah.
And he remembers their
for
name.
like 1 year.
I mean, he's phenomenal that way. But he didn't really pay attention to me until this surfer guy started asking me out. And so Matt saw this and he goes, "This is a nice girl. And she has no idea what this guy could potentially want with her." And so I think I need to insert myself in this equation.
Well,
I had already noticed him, Matt, earlier because he was so kind. He was always offer people rides home, and it wasn't just like the popular kids or whatever. He'd take them home. Like he'd have a car full of people taking them home, so they didn't have to take the bus to home or whatever. So I said, that's a remarkable person willing to go out of his way. So it's like, well, that's a nice guy. So he hadn't noticed me, but now he noticed me because I'm like dating this guy, and so. Anyhow, that relationship ended up fizzling, but the importance of that relationship is that it caught Matt's eye. And so he saw me waiting for the bus to go home after that and said, "Hey, can I take you home?" And I said, well, yeah. I mean, I said, "I live in Arcadia." He says, "I live right next door to you. I'm in Temple City." I didn't even know Temple City existed. That's how clueless I was. Geography has never been my strong suit. But anyway, really shows up there. He took me home, and on one of the trips home, we stopped by Did he tell you all this story? We
I don't
stopped by a
remember.
Marie Callender's.
He did not tell this part.
Oh, well, this was like our first unofficial date.
Okay.
It was really hot, like really, really hot. And he wanted to, instead of a fast food little soda, he wanted to grab me a like sit side in the air conditioning sort of thing. But the air conditioning was busted at this place. We didn't really realize it. But he got me an iced tea anyway. He had a soda, and like it was interesting because he said, "You are such an incredible person. I have never met a person with the depths of personality and insight ever." He says, "You're vast inside." He says, "The only problem," he says, "is you have enormous walls built up." And he says, "Nobody can see all that amazingness in you."
Oh my
and
gosh.
I was like,
how
what?
recent into knowing
we
him
were just
was this?
months. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, so I was like, what? How dare you tell me
Who
that?
the heck are
Who
you?
are you? It's like, but the interesting thing is he was absolutely right. I was very protected and very guarded, and he saw right through that. And fortunately, he was well intentioned toward me.
Yeah.
So he proved to be kind of my way into seeing myself a little bit, and unhooking from some of the things that had perhaps gone not so well for me in growing up. We all have that, actually. No, there's no corner on the market. We all have things that we need to reinterpret as adults, the things
Look
that we
back
happened
on
as we're kids. We
realize,
do.
We just said that about something. Looking back, you, like with your dad, with the produce, let's say, maybe he was using that to make us eat our vegetables, whatever. That's a very simple thing.
Sure.
But you look back on these little things and you're like, oh, I was actually, reacting this way as a kid because of this. And I didn't know that in the moment.
Yeah, it's true. And it's important to have your adult self look at your young self and say, actually, I want to just give you a little compassion, a little shout out. That was really hard. I'm so sorry you had to go through that, little self, little Sheri.
Well, you said you were working through that like a year ago, I think. We were
long
talking.
time.
Yeah. Well, I don't know how long you had been working
yeah.
on it, but you were like, I've just been trying to like love my younger self.
That's true.
And do the things that my younger self would have enjoyed and stuff like that.
I'm learning how to do that and learning how to just value me. I mean, people have said that to me my whole life, right? They say, love yourself, have a good self-image, all this good stuff.
You can say it harder than you think to do it.
What does that mean? Yeah, I love myself.
Yeah,
what are you going to say? Yeah, I don't hate myself.
Yeah.
But when you come down to it, it's like if you don't really learn to love yourself, and from my perspective, that means learn to see myself as God sees me, which is like lovely, not perfect, but lovely, beloved, cherished, an intentional work of creation that is just who I need to be. If you don't get to that place where you can actually love that person, if you're dictated by, you always do things wrong, you color outside the line, you do this, you have these voices that you heard and remembered, these bad tapes that when you were young that you perhaps misinterpreted or rightly interpreted and are keeping that message instead of what's truer about you, then you end up living victimized by those messages.
Yeah.
And when you're victimized by those messages, there's no freedom to be who you are. You're being controlled by other people's opinions, what that teacher told you, what that mother said to you.
You remembering that your voice cracked.
Yeah, no, for sure.
You look back and you're like, that was horrible.
Yes, that took a long time.
Yeah.
To unhook from that.
Yeah.
So, those are important things. I think that those are ways that when you begin to be able to, I'm in my 60s and I've been on a long journey to do that. But I'm standing here now saying, I'm so glad I went on this journey.
Yeah.
I don't mean narcissistically love myself, indulge myself, be entitled to whatever I want kind of self. To just say, actually, Sheri, you're okay. And you're not going to be able to offer all these things that you think you should or they thought you should, but you can offer you. So show up. Be present with what you have, and that's okay. It doesn't have to be everything, and it won't be perfect, but it's okay. Just show up.
I think a lot of people think that, loving yourself is thinking like it is kind of narcissistic these days, of like, I'm thinking you're perfect, you can do whatever you want because that's you, and you're entitled to being yourself. But that's definitely the way you said it. I think the perspective people should have.
Well, it's more liberating, honestly, because if your well-being has to do with how everybody's treating you, you're going to forever be limited in being happy. But if you can be okay with you, no matter what anybody does or says to you, if you can have a boundary, not to block somebody out, but to say, for me to do well, I need to take care of myself like this. And so, no, I can't do this thing that you want me to do. That's not keeping somebody else out. That's valuing what you need in this moment. There's love there. Love for me, love for you. Well, let's do something at another time, or, you know, however you need to do it. But it's like, it's not entitled. It's just being able to love me. Love, it's like, it's okay to be able to see that I have needs and to try to take care of those. And
totally.
And hopefully everybody can win in that equation too. So
that's a fresh perspective of that for sure. I think people, I'm not going to add on. I'm going to leave it there. That was good.
All right.
That was good stuff. Hey guys, our conversation with Sheri went so well that we are going to split it into 2 parts. So stay tuned for that, and make sure to follow us on all the socials and to rate and review us on wherever you listen to your podcast. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.